I wanted to get you something for coming. This is embarrassing, but what's the purse that you like? The
Hermes Birkin?
The Birkin. It's not a Birkin purse. So I
Oh, you got me a Birkin?
I didn't buy you. This is better than a Birkin. And it's kind of creepy.
Oh, you got another one?
Yeah. Yes. So, many faces of the internet. We have Tiffany Moon. I'm going to list you as, look, I made some notes, the real boss wife of Dallas.
Oh.
So I heard in some podcasts, you're not ruling out getting back on TV.
Not really.
You're not ruling it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should do the real boss wives. So,
I think so too.
You know, very professional women who are driven, who have, you know, because I think the real housewives, it seems to be people who have been able to take advantage of maybe a situation, but I don't think they're as accomplished as you.
Yeah, let's call Andy Cohen and pitch it.
Real boss, whatever, however you want to.
Boss ladies,
but it's
got
to be stronger. Yeah, like
yeah.
housewife has this like negative connotation.
It does.
Which it shouldn't. I mean, you know, I think it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the world, being a mother and, you know, taking care of a family. But, I mean, you're doing it all.
Yeah, most days.
So, I mean, you're here, you're flying into, where were you just now?
I was at the Women in Medicine Summit.
And then you're doing your own summit.
I'm doing my own summit. Yeah.
I think that is amazing that you said, you know what, this isn't out there, I'm going to create it.
I know. They say necessity is the mother of all invention. So here I go.
Bingo. And then you're going to do it. And you're doing it quickly.
I'm doing it. They were like, you can't put an in-person conference together in 9 months. And I was like, I cooked 2 whole human beings in 9 months.
At the
Watch
same time.
this. At the same time.
Heads up.
Because even my ovaries are overachievers.
It's kind of creepy that I know so much about you because I've researched you so much. But
yeah.
Listen, you've been on a ton of podcasts. Like, there's hours and hours of you on video.
I hope you didn't listen to them all.
I listened to them all.
Oh, my God.
1.5 speed, which I heard you say you do also. So
1.5 at minimum. If they're really slow, it'll be like a 2.
Some of them I could have meant up a little higher, but overall, it was pretty good. I speak really quickly, so
me too.
Yeah, so I think this one maybe you guys can play at 1.2. But yeah, there's a ton of them out there. So I would classify you in my classification from a creator perspective as 2 and 3. So I think you're a grinder because you're working your butt off. And then 3, you have something about you that's an outlier. So it's a hard thing to mimic, you know?
Yeah.
Like the Mr. Beast of the world, I really think people can mimic. He just did hard, over and over and over. The first one, you really can't mimic either because that person got lucky, you know?
Right.
Yours is, I mean, you've worked, you've grinded. And, you know, a lot of the other podcasts, you talked about your early life and upbringing and from 0 to 30.
Right.
You grinded, you did it hard. And I would encourage people to listen to all of the other podcasts, honestly, because I think that you did a really good job. But I'm interested in from 30 to you're 31 now, I think. So how you got into the creator space, like social media.
I got into social media basically accidentally. I think I made my Instagram in maybe like 2018 or 19. But if you look back, like I wasn't a regular poster. I didn't go on. I didn't consume content. I didn't create content. I was a full-time anesthesiologist with twin toddlers. So it really was COVID that made me start consuming and then creating content. Because we were all in the house bored, you know, and I just made some stupid stuff. And it was like quarantine fashion, and it was like toilet paper, garbage bags, things like that. And then something just took off. One of the videos, my stepdaughter was like, oh my God, you got 1 million views. I was like, what? You know, like in 2020. Yeah. And I was like, that's wild. And then it just started growing. Then a news outlet reached out and was like calling me the TikTok doctor and all this stuff. And then I was on Housewives in 2021. So then I got a little boost from that. Yeah. And then, you know, sometimes after people quit Housewives, their kind of stuff dies down. But I was consistently posting and still had medical stuff, family stuff, fashion stuff.
And so, I mean, because you were something before the Housewives. So I think that's why you've maintained or even, you know, done better since the Housewives, right?
Right.
I've heard you talk like the Housewives was, you know, you're not positive you loved it or it had its role in your life, but maybe you wouldn't repeat the same exact scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to have been given the opportunity to have a platform like that. You know, that's a really big platform, and I learned a lot from that experience. But in terms of being like a long-term housewife, like more seasons, hanging out with those toxic people, no thank you.
That's because you're a boss wife. You're not a housewife. So
we need a
please,
new
Andy
show.
Cohen, boss wife. You know, I feel this, and I feel it from the other side. I probably should talk to your husband about it more. My wife is professional. She works at JP Morgan Chase. She's a VP. You know, she's like working her butt off. We have 3 children. I have a 6, 7, and 9-year-olds. And a lot of times I'm like, you know, you need to find another professional woman to talk to because I can't get in her line. She needs to go to your summit.
Why is your wife not registered? Can you register her?
You know what? I just kind of found out about it, you know? So it's just interesting. And I think there needs to be a platform for that. Now, your summit is it, but I think not only a platform, but like a magnifying glass on it. because, it's been quick. And this can sound bad, but it's been quick that women have become so ingrained into the business world, right? And the home world. But this is very, very recent.
20 years ago, that was not the case.
So it's in it's new, and I think everybody's kind of learning how it works, So it's interesting, and I think from the female perspective, it's got to be extremely
It's a good time to be a woman in America. That's all I got to say.
But it's stressful because I'll take some of the brunt from a man perspective. We kind of made you become professional women. But then we also didn't really take away a lot of the responsibilities at home that you guys have. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. You just like doubled up.
Right.
And you have you have multiple
jobs.
You have multiple things. I wanted to kind of touch on that. The percentages. So you have a family, you have children, you have a husband, you have a life, obviously, at home. You're a physician, obviously, an anesthesiologist. The Lead Her Summit now, I'm sure, is like piquing its interest. So what kind of percentages do you split on all that?
That's a good question. I work 3 days a week at the hospital. Okay. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm in the operating room. And when I'm in the operating room,
what kind of cases?
I do thoracic, vascular, and trauma.
So for the people out there, that's like the worst kind of case from an anesthesiologist perspective, because these people are losing volume, gaining volume. I mean, these are crazy cases. It's not the anesthesiologist who sits back playing on their phone. These are the ones like, you should run your pulse rate.
Transfusing blood, checking ACTs, dealing with drips.
I had a case the other day that I lost about 500 mils of blood. For me, that's a lot. Like, I never see that much blood. And I was like, my staff was like, what's going on? So and from
500 is not
like that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, we lost like 2 liters the other day.
I don't do much trauma anymore. I've kind of
Yeah.
But, okay, so doctor.
And then I would say, wife and mom. That has probably taken the greatest hit because of the summit and all of my other endeavors. You know, it's like the people we love the most, like, forgive us the most for not paying attention to them. So I told my kids, I was like, after November, like, mommy's going to take you to do all the things. We're going to go see the Nutcracker. We're going to do all the Christmas things. We're planning a big vacation to go to Montana to go skiing. But, there are some Saturdays where, like, my nanny has to work for 4 hours so I can catch up on all the shit that I didn't get done from during the week.
Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day.
Oh, I'm trying to squeeze every hour out of that day.
My wife was in this scenario. Stress, working a ton, kids. She's like, I'm not with the kids enough, but I'm not working enough. There's like this, you're never happy, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Screw it. Quit. Take a sabbatical. And they let her work let her, and she took 6 months off. First 2 months, she loved it, and then she hated it. She's like, no, I can't do this. Like, I gotta work. So you'll never be happy. Satisfied, I guess, from that perspective. Yeah. I would say that, when you're with your kids, you're like, shit, I should be working.
Right.
When you're working, you're like, shit, I should be with my kids. So. Yeah. But that's also probably the right spot.
I mean, I have a full life, you know? I'm busy, I travel, I do whatever I want, and I just say, like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I don't want to live a small life where I don't have anything to do and I'm just always available. Like, my calendar is packed to the max. Yeah. I mean, we had to, like, move a flight so I could be here, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
That gets me. Your personality, and this is what's made you successful. So you are a doer.
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling you what you are, but this is, I've learned, like, reading about you and studying you, you get shit done. And that's a perfect example. Like, hey, we should do something. Okay, I'm going to be in town. Okay, well, if you can do it after, can you change the flight? Boom, it's done. Like, no questions asked, you did it.
I'm a fast action taker. Yeah. I don't hem and haw. Maybe that's the anesthesiologist.
Yeah,
patient's blood pressure is 180. Oh, now it's 80/40.
Can't
like,
think about
I do things quickly. I don't like to perseverate. And once a decision is made, I don't, like, question it, or I just don't have time for that.
Yeah, you just deal with it later if it's an issue, yeah.
Yeah.
And then efficiency. I heard something you said once that like every minute of your day has
it's time blocked.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, when I'm doing meetings, still do these meetings from time to time. I'm on my exercise bike while I'm doing them. I think it's probably a doctor thing. We have to prioritize our time. Yeah, there's only so much. But
people say multitasking is bad, and I said, well, how are you multitasking? Are you task switching like your brain, or are you like listening to a podcast while walking the dog? So then you're getting exercise. That's my multitasking.
People joke around that I have ADHD, I'm hyper, and we probably do, and we've just dealt with it by giving ourselves more tasks. I think that's very likely.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I heard you say was, and I think this is probably where your creative side's coming out, it's where mine is, and particularly I think from your background, your parents, it's classic, like Asian mother, boom, 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 but that there's always a plan. Like you go to undergrad, then you go to med school, then you go to residency, then you go to fellowship. Like we don't have any decisions. We just do what we have to. You do the best at this so you can get to this. Then you become the best at this so you can get to that level. And now it's like that was where your Real Housewives kind of came in. You're like, screw it.
I was like 30 something and I was like, I've done everything right.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to the best schools, graduated early, then I got married, then I had twins. And I'm like, wait, what about me? Like, I love fashion, I love humor, I love traveling. Like, when do I get to, lean into that kind of stuff?
You know, I wanted to get you something for coming. I know it kind of burst the bubble already, but this isn't for you. This one's me. And this is embarrassing, but what's the purse that you like? The
Hermes, Birkin?
The Birkin. It's not a Birkin purse. So I
you got me a Birkin?
I didn't buy you. This is better than a Birkin. Okay? But it's like, what do you get the person who has everything? Kind of
That's,
thing.
yeah.
And it's kind of creepy.
Oh, you got another one?
Yeah. So I mailed it back to Texas for because they're very fragile.
This is so funny.
And the other one's better. So there's
gosh.
two styles. I had them touch it up and make it.
Oh
They don't really look like you. They have a little bit of a
What do we think, friends?
Halloween mask, maybe.
Halloween.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
This is a 3D printed head. I'm thinking about, but you can tell me if it's too creepy.
Huh.
Like the many faces of the internet having heads of people that have been on there.
Oh, where?
Like in the studio.
It's a little
creepy.
freaky. I'd be scared if I came in at night and there was all these faces, you know?
It's like kind of just creepy enough.
My nanny texted me. She said a package came for you to the house. I was out of town.
Yeah.
And she's like, when I opened it, like jump scare.
It was a little creepy.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? And she goes, I don't know. Somebody sent it to you.
I figured you'd be able to use it for TikTok somewhere or another.
Oh, I'm sure we'll utilize it.
Your kids will have fun with it or something,
I'll
My
be
kids,
like, mommy's watching you.
Yeah,
don't misbehave.
I love it. And you can take that one with you if you want, but they're fragile to travel with. That's why I shipped it there.
Okay.
And it was supposed to come after. This is supposed to be a surprise, but
It's okay.
My guy
I was
was-
still surprised. I was like, I don't know what that is.
yeah, it's a little creepy. I have them in my office. Literally, I have the heads posted, and they're before and afters. So it shows and you can look at like the 3D angles and what's sharp, and it's just a really cool way to look at the before and afters.
Okay.
So that's how I use it. But okay, so your creative space. Do you like it? Do you like making TikToks and Instagram? It's fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Some of the best TikToks or whatever, and like me and my assistant, like farting around the house, like making stuff, we are laughing. Like I have to cross my legs or I'll pee myself because we're just having so much fun. There's this one, we were throwing like one of my kids' dolls into this huge ass Birkin that I have. And it was like, a small person like jumping and it looked like and I was laughing so hard. It's just so fun. And I don't get like anesthesia for trauma vascular thoracic is not exactly creative, nor is it funny. And so when I'm not in the hospital and I'm just like coming up with these ideas and then I get to meet other creators that are, so cool. And I don't know, it's really opened up like a different side to my life.
Have you been able to harness it? I mean, because you have the candle business still, right?
Yeah.
And you have the wine business. Have you been able to harness it and make money from it?
I mean,
It's hard to track it.
It's hard to say, right? Like the candle business, I've never spent money on advertising, and we sell 6 figures worth of candles every year.
Yeah, well, so that's got to be from your exposure.
Right. And some of my colleagues at work were like making fun of me, and they're like, how's your little candle business? And I'm like, it's fine. We sold 6 figures worth of candles, so it's doing all right as a side hobby. You know what I mean?
Great.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely think social media has helped. And even with the summit, like most of the people that have registered, we have almost 100 people registered, and we have a line on the registration that's like, how did you hear about Lead Her Summit? And they're like Instagram, TikTok, or something like that. So
for me, I get almost all of my patients come from it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I joke around that I don't like the attention. But, you got to kind of enjoy it. You can tell the people that like it versus the person who pays a social media person and just has it very standard.
They feel like they have to
And I can tell you're involved in the process, in the creative process, thinking about it, being funny, right?
Yeah.
I also saw you did a little stand-up at one point.
Oh, my God.
It's fucking hard, isn't it?
Stand-up is I did 2. I did one at the Dallas Comedy Club and then one at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, which is like
a big deal.
And it was packed, like standing room only. Now, in terms of my stand-up, how did I do? If I had to grade myself, like a solid B,
But you don't take Bs.
I didn't kill. No, I don't usually make Bs. But it was such an enlightening experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody should be made to do a 10-minute set in front of a live audience at some point in their life.
It is humbling. It is. I told you, I was kind of getting into it too for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the local bars.
Yeah.
And my very first stand-up, I did 25 minutes.
Oh.
And I just rewatched it, and I was blushing watching it. It was so bad.
Cringe.
But I didn't know. I hadn't done it. I just I wrote all these jokes, and I was picturing hour-long Netflix series. So they played me off. I mean, it was so. It's embarrassing. And
they had that clown like on America's Got Talent.
Essentially. And I had my buddy come and video it. So Oh man, but it is humbling.
But such a learning experience.
Oh God.
And you know what? People like make fun of you, like, oh, he
Yeah.
thinks he's a stand-up comedian now, whatever. I don't see your ass up here.
It's hard.
You know what I mean?
It is a hard thing.
Yeah.
You can have a really funny joke. It can be like perfect. And then you just like the smallest little way you deliver it, or the word you miss a word, or you say Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so I try to kind of end with a few questions, and then we can make some TikToks. I guess this applies to the Instagram and the Real Housewife stuff. Would you do it again? Are you happy that you did it?
Yeah. I would do all of it again because it's brought to me to where I am today. You know what I mean? Right. And I always say, like, for life, like, I don't have a randomized controlled version of me that didn't do it, right? So here I am.
You never know. It's
and
like
I'm happy.
Back to the Future style. If you changed it, what would be today? Yeah.
Right.
Good. I like it. Do you have a manager or like somebody who manages your access to the media and gets deals with you? You do. At what point did you get that? That's important because I think for the creators out there, it's like, when do I get one? I have 500,000 followers. Do I do it now? Do I do it when I have 1,000?
So I got a publicist when I was on Real Housewives because they were fielding like media requests.
Yeah.
And I have that same publicist now and a new publicist as well because I'm writing a book.
Ooh.
So I have a book.
Add that to the percentage.
So I have a book publicist and another publicist. The social media manager I got when I was getting enough inbound emails in my inbox that was brands wanting to work with me and pay me money to endorse their services or products. The negotiation, the contract signing, the
and
content.
they take a portion of it.
They take a cut.
Yeah.
And it's a sizable cut. It's not nothing.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking into it now. I got to figuring it out. I've always just poofed them because I get my money from my patients. So I don't really need to.
But no one's going to come to my county hospital asking for an anesthetic.
No, they don't. We should start that too. I think they should be selecting their anesthesiologist.
I can give a real good propofol infusion. You can have a nice nap.
You could have reviews like, oh man, I was so high. I had like such a nice sleep.
Throw some ketamine in there.
I like it. A little ketamine before the benzo.
Yeah. But I think a manager.
So it was essentially with the housewives.
Yes. Publicist for the housewives, and then brand manager, agent for if you have enough people knocking on your door to do sponsored content. Yeah. But if you're just making fun things on your own and you're not looking to like make money for partnerships, not necessarily.
But at one point, that's most people's goal. You want to make fun things, get the exposure, and then hopefully monetize it. I think.
You know what was funny? It was never my goal. I had no idea. The first time somebody was like, "I want to pay you to endorse," I was all like, "You do? How much money?"
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, and I kind of just ran with it. And now, I take a few partnerships. Every quarter. I turn down the vast majority of stuff that comes my way because I just don't like it.
And you don't want to. It can dilute yourself a little bit. Like if you're talking about whatever, a coffee shop, and you're not in so that makes sense. How many hours a week do you work?
85 to 100.
And even the social media is a freaking full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Some of it's fun and you can the ones pop off that took you 2 seconds, and sometimes those are the best. But some of these 5-10 second videos can take an hour to film, hours to film.
It's not the filming, it's the editing.
Yeah,
it's
figuring
the post-production.
It out. Yeah. So I think that's a lesson. People think like, oh, she's fun. She's having like the live. Look where she, but I mean, you're a grinder. You're working your butt off. So
yeah, that's why my last vacation, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put my phone away because I want to enjoy my vacation. We went to Fiji for my 40th. I don't want to like be filming and doing the transitions. Yes. Yeah. It's the 9th anniversary of my 31st birthday. So yeah, some days it's the grind, but with social media, this is the thing. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like it today. Yeah. So I'm not going to do it.
It's beautiful, right? Yeah. And that independence, that sense of self-control, I think is why a lot of people do it. What is your metric that you define success by? So money people could use, happiness people could use, notoriety.
I just want to be remembered as someone who helped other people. We went into medicine because we wanted to help other people. If you had asked my 10-year-old self this question, I would have been like money, status, fame, success. And I don't know, in some ways I got those things.
I was going to say, you kind of did that.
and it wasn't all that, know? And I would say now the metric of my success is, does it bring me joy? Am I bringing joy to the other people around me? So I've eliminated toxic relationships. I quit Housewives. I'm doing the summit, which is my way of like empowering other women and giving back to my community. We have a charity beneficiary. All these things like fulfill my heart.
Nobody will ever be able to take that advice and do it because everybody in that moment when you're 10 or when you're whatever young and you're thinking about your life, you just can't see it unless you go through it. So but it's insightful.
Don't chase the fame. Don't chase the money. I promise.
But you're
that
still
will not
gonna.
make
So
you
it's
happy.
okay. Do it and then appreciate it later. I mean, it's the reality. Like,
Yeah.
people could have said that to me, like, you know, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't work so hard. You got to not obsess. But like,
And then I did it anyway.
yeah, you just can't. And I would do it again, I'm sure. Even if it was myself telling me at this moment, you know.
It's almost like you got to get it to then know that, like, that's not what it was.
Yeah.
It's so weird how that works.
That kind of got me to what advice would you give somebody younger who wants to be like you? There's a lot of young women that want to be like you, young girls, people in med school. I have a big med school, nursing school following, and those people they want to be like you. They want to become a successful doctor and a creator and famous and all of this. So
I would say there's no substitute for hard work, and don't take shortcuts, because sometimes the young people these days want to take shortcuts, and every time I've done it, it's bit me in the ass. Slow and steady wins the race. And these, viral moments, like, that's not what you want to aim for. Like, I would much rather be a type 2 and have longevity than a type 1 and you go like this, but then a year later you're like,
kind of has been. Yeah, it's the Haktua girl. And this is a particularly tough one.
But in a year, is she going to be a thing? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what will determine it is how hard she works from now when she got that, magic spark.
Exactly.
But then if she's kind of like doesn't take it seriously, isn't consistent, blah, blah, then in a year, no one knows who it is. But if she takes this catalyst and like really it launches her, then so be it. But I think that's the difference between people who have longevity and people who kind of go viral and then peter out.
The food's coming. And we got to make some TikToks, I think.
We got to make TikToks, and I need a face consult on how to make this face
You know what, Tiffany? It's easy to make hot people hot. So I'm blessed, and I think you just need a few little tweaks.
Yeah, a few little tweaks.
I tell, I get a lot of my patients come to me and say, Doc, what do you need? What do you want me to do? Or what should I do to make myself hotter? And I say, we can do this. We can play this game, but it's better with like what you're going to go home and stare at the, 20-time magnified mirror and be like, there's this one little wrinkle here,
I see a pore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the way to start. We don't need to do that live on film, but you got great peaks and valleys already, so you can just tweak them a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be easy. All right. The Real Boss Wife of Dallas. We're starting it. The many faces of the internet. She's one of them. Now she's actually one of the many faces next to me. I was still playing with these. My head is tiny. I look like a Simpsons character. So I have to use the intercanthal distance to measure them. And then yours, I just had my team build these, by the way, from like your Instagram. So normally I have professional photos taken at every angle. So I think they did okay.
I think they did a good job. Yeah, they got my nose good, my lips good. My eyes look a little scary. I don't know what's going on there.
It's kind of weird, but
No, they did a great job.
Well, she'll be on the wall as a many faces of the internet. Today we did Tiffany Moon. She's an outlier. She's a go-getter. We learned who she is. We learned how she does it. I'm going to be doing this about these successful creators. I want to know how and why. What is it about that got them there? Aren't you interested to see, like, how come Joe Rogan is such an outstanding, podcaster? Why is Alex Cooper why did she just sign a $100 million deal with Sirius XM Radio? What the heck? How'd that happen? Audio biographies, the many faces of the internet. Stay tuned for the next episode.